Is this thing up? Is this thing up? Is this thing up? Are we up? Okay, bet. So, about the last event, I had the wrong address, but don't worry, we have a recording of it and it's going to be uploaded onto YouTube. And this current town hall is expected to start in about 18 minutes, so just enjoy the pre-crowd.
Untitled. So we have water. I don't have lights.
Your obligation. It's a college, it's a, that's what I would say, college. So did you get mom something nice for her birthday?
Because I don't think there's any room in the front.
You look great.
Huh? Yeah. You can follow me.
This is the third open press event of the day. Me?
Mind if I do it? Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing.
Desiree Maryland from the So guys, I have my laptop on the right and I'm actually screen capturing the event that Andrew was just at, and I'm going to try to upload it while this event is being live streamed. So by the way guys, this event will be starting in approximately 7 minutes. So what do you guys think of this angle? Is it your speed or not? Good angle? Okay. Yeah, Andrew very frequently moves up. Let me see if I can get more of the crowd in. Yeah, there it goes. But I also want to keep the American flag in. It's all about optics.
Someone up there, they have like a nice jacket. You guys are good.
Audio check for press. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
All right, how's everyone doing tonight? Good? I saw some nodding heads of approval. I asked you, how are you doing tonight? Yeah, we're about to see the next president of the United States, Andrew Yang. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So we've got a great run of show for you tonight. My name is Conrad, but more importantly, I'm so proud to introduce one of our best field organizers in the state to talk to you about the importance of volunteering. Lauren, yes, she's awesome.
Hey guys, I'm so hyped up to be here. Every time I see everyone here for Andrew Yang, I get super excited. So thank you for being here. It's awesome. My name's Lauren, as Conrad said. I'm from Los Angeles, and it's really, really, really important for me to be here. I swapped the sunshine for the snow. I'm glad I did because I love you guys. Iowa's amazing. But I was working for a tech startup. I spent the last 5 years doing that, and 6 months ago, my job was automated. So there are now computers doing my job. I started educating myself about automation, and I learned about Andrew Yang. I got super excited, and I was like, I've got to be a part of this somehow. This is amazing. I started also learning about his other policies and realizing this isn't a candidate that's just for me, he is for everyone. And that's why one of his slogans is not left, not right, but forward, because he really is a candidate that can unite us all. So I'm here volunteering, and I really hope that I can inspire and encourage you guys to do the same, whether it be for canvassing, phone banking, and I always tell people one door knock, I just learned this the other day, is actually equivalent to $240 in donations. So feel free to find me or any of the other staff here, back there and in front, and we will be more than happy to sign you guys up to volunteer. All right? And make sure you guys turn off your phones. But now I'm going to introduce Navy vet Heidi Day.
Welcome, Van Meter. Thank you guys so much for coming out, and thank you to the Legion for allowing us to be here. My name is Heidi, and I am a United States Navy veteran. I'm the leader of Veterans for Yang. I'm also the Yang Gang envoy because we just have cool job titles like that in the campaign. My story is actually kind of a funny one. I like to joke that I became a Yang supporter by a mistargeted Facebook ad. I'm a South Dakotan, and one day in my Facebook feed, I had an ad, one of the Yang campaign ads show up. And so then I ended up just watching videos of Andrew Yang for probably hours straight, which if any of you are also Yang Gang, you understand the sentiment. And then I did what any rational person would do, and I stuck some giant decals, Yang 2020 decals on my Jeep, and I headed to Iowa. Because this is the most important election of our lifetime. And not just because Donald Trump is up for re-election, but because with an Andrew Yang platform, ending abject poverty is literally on the ballot. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce a molecular biologist, Shoma Bhattacharya.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Everybody seems good. I'm in an amazing room. I'm sitting next to a 12-year-old who's schooling me on the Constitution and the mayor of the town. So what a great group of amazing people. So a little about myself and how I got to know about Andrew. So my name's Shoma. I'm new to Iowa. I've been in Waukee for about a year and a half now. And my wife grew up in the Quad Cities. She's a veterinarian, graduated from Iowa State. Go Cyclones. So I work in the Corn Belt. I'm an agricultural scientist, and that's what kept me in the Corn Belt for the last decade. So first of all, also thank you to Van Meter for keeping me a little healthy this summer. I biked through this town a whole bunch, so that was really good. So how many people in this room either work in agriculture or know somebody that might work in agriculture? Quite a lot. That's almost everybody in this room. I used to work at a startup in Chicago doing molecular biology research on the bench. And my job transitioned from kind of teaching graduate students how to do standardized protocols, and it actually led towards teaching robots how to do those same jobs. Unfortunately, I would tell you a lot more about myself, but without further ado, Andrew's already here. So not left, not right, forward.
Hello, everyone. I love being here in Iowa because this is where the future of the country will be determined in just a couple short weeks. February 3rd. I've been campaigning for a while now. I have to say, it's thrilling to be at this point in the campaign. Most of you know I'm not a professional politician. I never intended to run for president. My wife would have run the other direction. And in our dating life, I was like, hey, someday I'm gonna run for president. So how did I come to this point? I'm an entrepreneur who came up through business. How many of you all have started a business or organization or a club or mailing list? So you know, if you have your hand up, two things. Number one, it's much harder than anyone lets on. And number two, when someone asks you how it's going, what do you say? Great. So my first business, I went to law school, was an unhappy lawyer for 5 months, left to start a business, and it went great till it failed. My parents told people I was still a lawyer, because that was a much better story for them. But I'd been bitten by the bug. I worked at another small company, and then another, and then I became the CEO of an education company, and I grew to become #1 in the US, and was bought by a bigger company in 2009. Now, how many of you were here in Iowa in 2009, 11 years ago? How was the financial crisis here for you and your community? Tough? Rough. At another event, a 14-year-old boy had his hand up and said it was really hard. And I looked at him and said, how would you remember? You must have been 4 at the time. And he said, my family lost our home, so I remember. And I thought I had some insight as to why the financial crisis had occurred. It was because so many of the wannabe whiz kids I'd gone to college and law school with had gone straight to Wall Street and come up with mortgage-backed securities and financial derivatives and these things that had tanked our economy. So I thought, well, that's a disaster, that's a train wreck. Let's have people do the opposite of that. So here's again where my wife comes in, because I come home and I say, hey, I want to quit my job and start a nonprofit. How many of you all work in nonprofits now? How many of you all volunteer for a nonprofit? You should really just raise your hand to that one, because that's like, are you nice? It's like, I was nice that one time. So I started this nonprofit. I put up some of our savings. I started calling rich friends, asking them for money. We started out with a couple $100,000, grew to the millions, helped create several thousand jobs in cities around the country. Because what the nonprofit did was it helped businesses in markets around the country grow by bringing in enterprising recent college graduates who wanted to learn about business. I thought it would be a win-win-win, where if you were a recent college graduate, instead of going to Wall Street and making noodles of money, how about you head to Detroit, or Cleveland, or New Orleans, or Baltimore, or another 11 cities to learn how to grow a business, and then at the end of 2 years, if you wanted to start your own business, we had a little seed fund and mentors and coaches to help you do so. Venture for America, so wholesome, right? Successful enough that we created thousands of jobs over the next 7 years, and I was honored by the Obama administration multiple times. I got to bring my wife, Evelyn, to meet the president. So my in-laws were very excited about me that week. She said, she did all right. Check it out, the pictures. And I learned so much over those 7 years traveling the country. And unfortunately, I had this feeling that the water level was going down, not up, in many communities around our country. And I was blown away by the disparities between regions, where if you flew between Michigan and Manhattan, or St. Louis and San Francisco, you felt like you were crossing dimensions and decades and ways of life, and not just going a few time zones. But I was still surprised when Donald Trump became our president in 2016. I know you all remember that night well. How did you react to his victory? Like groans, shock, dismay. At another event, someone said bourbon. I was surprised too, and to me it was a giant red flag that tens of millions of our fellow Americans decided to take a bet on the narcissist reality TV star as our president. But we all have family members and friends and neighbors who are very excited about his victory. And I know for a fact you have family members and friends and neighbors who are excited about his victory because Donald Trump won this state by almost 10 points. And this is the purplest of purple states. You all are the swing state of all the swing states, really. So how the heck did Donald Trump win Iowa by almost 10 points? If you turned on cable news that night in 2016 or any night since, why would you think that Donald Trump won? Russia.
Immigrants getting out to vote.
Immigrants, slow turnout, emails, Hillary Clinton, Facebook, FBI. Some combination of these factors all mixed together into a cocktail, right? Like, here's why. But I'm a numbers guy. I went looking through the numbers for an explanation, and I found it. And it's an explanation that you all will recognize, I believe. We automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs over the last number of years, and where were those jobs primarily based? Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Missouri, and 40,000 right here in Iowa. And when you go to those towns in Iowa that lost their manufacturing jobs, after the plant closed, the shopping district closed, people started to leave, the school shrank, and that community has never recovered. I saw the same thing play out in Missouri, Ohio, Michigan, Western Pennsylvania. And the voter district data shows that when that happened, blue went to red in an awful hurry. That's how Donald Trump wins Iowa by almost 10 points. And what happened to those manufacturing jobs is now shifting to other parts of our economy. How many of you have noticed stores closing around where you live here in Van Meter? A couple hands went up over here. Why are the stores closing? Combination of things, but one of the big drivers is Amazon. Amazon is soaking up $20 billion in business every single year, closing 30% of your stores and malls. Most common job in our communities, retail clerk. Average retail clerk is a 39-year-old woman making between $8 and $12 an hour. What is her job going to be when her store or mall closes? How much did Amazon pay in federal taxes last year? Zero. That is your math. 20 billion out, 30% of stores closed, you get zero back. It's not just the retail stores, the fast food restaurants, the CVS's and the groceries. When you all call the customer service line of a big company and you get the bot or software, you probably do the exact same thing I do, which is you pound 000, say human, representative, like over and over again, until you get someone on the line, right? Raise your hand if that's what you do. Oh yeah, we all hate that software, it's terrible. But in 2 or 3 short years, the software is gonna sound like this. Hey Andrew, how's it going? What can I do for you? It'll be fast, efficient, peppy. What is that gonna mean for the 2.5 million Americans who work in call centers right now making $10 to $14 an hour? How many of you all know a truck driver here in Iowa? It's the most common job in 29 states. My friends in California are working on trucks that can drive themselves. They say they're 98% of the way there. A robot truck just transported 20 tons of butter from California to Pennsylvania 3 weeks ago with no human intervention. Why butter? I have no idea. But if you Google robot butter truck, You will see the story. And then at the end of the route was a giant stack of pancakes. I didn't see, no. What will the robot trucks mean for the 3.5 million truck drivers in our country, or the 7 million plus Americans who work at truck stops, motels, and diners that rely upon the truckers getting out and having a meal every day? How many of you have been to Iowa 80 in Davenport? They have an exceptional buffet. It's a really good value, very good variety. They proudly say that 5,000 people stop there every day. How many people will stop there when the robot trucks do not have drivers? Half of that, maybe. Like, we will stop there because there'll still be a buffet. We're in the midst of the greatest economic transformation in the history of our country, what experts are calling the fourth industrial revolution. When's the last time you've heard a politician talk about the fourth industrial revolution? Just now, 4 seconds ago. And I'm barely a politician. So these are the things I was going through in 2017. Trump wins. I'm like, holy cow, what just happened? And imagine being the guy who's getting medals and awards for creating thousands of jobs around the country, and then knowing that your work is like pouring water into a bathtub that has a giant hole ripped at the bottom, water is just rushing out. And our country's scapegoating immigrants for problems immigrants have next to nothing to do with, because when you go to one of these factories, it's not wall-to-wall immigrants, it's wall-to-wall robot arms and machines. And I still didn't run for president first thing. I went to our leaders in Washington, D.C. And I said, hey, what are we going to do to help our people manage this historic transformation? And what do you think the folks in D.C. said to me when I said, what are we going to do? Yeah, someone made the Scooby-Doo noise. It was like, oh. The three main responses I got out of D.C. were these. Number one, we cannot talk about this. Number two, we should study this further. And number three, this will be familiar to you all, we should educate and retrain all Americans for the jobs of the future. How many of you heard that? That sounds halfway responsible. You're like, huh, okay. But I'm the numbers guy, and I said, well, I checked out the studies. Do you all want to guess how effective the government-funded retraining programs were for the manufacturing workers who lost their jobs in the Midwest? You know it's low because I'm anchoring you low. But you also know it's low because you know people. You know if there are 1,000 49-year-old manufacturing workers who lose their jobs, they don't all march out and be like, oh great, it's coding school time. Let me get to my computer right now. I'll be done in 3 months. Like, that's not human nature. The success rate of the government-funded retraining programs were 0 to 15%. They were a total dud. Of the workers that lost their manufacturing jobs in the Midwest, almost half left the workforce and never worked again. Of that group, almost half filed for disability. You then saw surges in suicides and drug overdoses in those communities to the point where our country's life expectancy has now declined for the last 3 years in a row. You know the last time that happened in the United States of America? Great Depression is a great guess, and it's even earlier than that. It's the Spanish flu of 1918, a global pandemic that killed millions. You have to go back 100 years to the Spanish flu to find a time in American history where our life expectancy declined like this. It is highly unusual for your life expectancy to ever decline in a developed country. You ordinarily get richer, stronger, healthier, and just keeps on inching upward. But in the United States of America, it's gone down and then down and then down again. So when I said this to the folks in DC, one of them said, well, I guess we'll get better at retraining them. And one person in DC said something that brought me here to you all tonight. He said, Andrew, you're in the wrong town. No one here is going to do anything about this set of issues because fundamentally this is a town of followers, not leaders. And the only way we will do anything about it is if you were to create a wave in other parts of the country and bring that wave crashing down on our heads. And I said, challenge accepted. I will be back with the wave. And 2 years ago, I'm here, and now I stand before you, fifth in the polls and rising to be the Democratic nominee. Our campaign raised $16.5 million last quarter in increments of only $35 each. So my fans are almost as cheap as Bernie's. Zero corporate PAC money, all just people-powered grassroots funding, because we know we have to take our government back and have it work for us. That's what this campaign is about, and you all are among the most powerful people in our country today that can turn things around just like that. I know it doesn't feel like it. You're just living your lives, saying, oh, nothing on TV tonight, is a presidential candidate, so I might as well go check him out. I saw the TV ads, they seem to be spending a lot of money on those. But I've done the math. Do you know how many Californians each Iowan caucus goer is worth? 1,000 Californians each. So if you look around this room, how many of us are here tonight? I'm going to give a Trumpian estimate. There are 600 people in this room. Biggest room anyone's ever seen.
Huge.
Huge. There are about 50 people here tonight. But 50 Iowans is more than one football stadium full of Californians in voting power. That's the power we have assembled here tonight. It's the power to do something that the rest of our fellow Americans only dream of. Well, the rest of the country looks up and they see our government as a series of pipes clogged full of millions of dollars of lobbyist cash. And they look up and they say there's nothing we can do to flush the pipes clean. They are correct. There is nothing that they can do. Only you can do it. You can flush the pipes clean just like this on February 3rd. Take a new vision to the rest of the country and say, we're going to actually start organizing our economy around us and our families instead of the bottom line of these mega corporations that are paying zero or next to nothing in taxes. So that's the vision. Everyone here knows that it's inappropriate for a $1 trillion tech company like Amazon to pay less in taxes than everyone here tonight. Is that Amazon's fault that they're paying no taxes? Whose fault is it? It's our fault, our government's fault. We must be pretty behind the curve if we look up and say, Amazon, zero taxes? Yeah, that seems right. Starbucks, zero? Also fine. Netflix, zero? Sure. I know many of you like Netflix, it's cool. Many of you like Amazon too. So how do we make this all work for us and our families? What we have to do is we have to reach up and get our tiny fair share of every Amazon sale, every Google search, every Facebook ad, every robot truck mile eventually, that's depleting our communities and leaving it, and then bring it back and put it into your hands in the form of a dividend of $1,000 a month. Now, I know the first time you heard this, candidate wants to give everyone $1,000 a month idea. You thought it was too good to be true, a gimmick, it never happened. Raise your hand if that's what you thought. Now, I understand. It does seem very, very dramatic. But it's not my idea, and it's not a new idea. Thomas Paine was for this at the founding of the country. He called it the Citizens' Dividend for all Americans. Martin Luther King, whose son I met with in Atlanta a few weeks ago, was fighting for this when he was killed in 1968. Called it the Guaranteed Minimum Income for all Americans. It was so mainstream that 1,000 economists, including Milton Friedman, the forefather of a lot of modern economic thought, endorsed this plan in the 1960s. 1,000 economists said this would be great for America, and it passed the U.S. House of Representatives twice under Richard Nixon. It was called the Family Assistance Plan, would have guaranteed an income floor for all American families. And then 11 years later, one state actually passed a dividend where now everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And what state is that? Alaska. And how do they pay for it? Oil. And what is the oil of the 21st century? Technology, data, AI, self-driving cars and trucks. A study just came out that said that our data is now worth more than oil. How many of you saw that study? How many of you got your data check in the mail last month? If our data is now worth billions of dollars a year, who is getting that value? Facebook, Amazon, Google, Apple. Instagram is part of Facebook. They bought good things. The $1 trillion tech companies that are paying zero or near zero in taxes. When you have self-driving trucks on our highways saving tens of billions of dollars a year, in theory, how much of that value will we see, the American people? None, because it's going to be in the hands of the trillion-dollar tech company that's paying zero. This is what we have to change. We have to say, look, it's not appropriate for the biggest winners in the 21st century economy to be sucking us dry and paying zero back into our society. They have to pay their fair share, put it in our hands, build a trickle-up economy from our people, our families, and our communities up. Particularly because when this money is in your hands, how will you spend it? Where will it go in real life? In the community. How much of it will stay right here in Iowa?
A lot of it.
Most of it. Not all of it. You might get your own Netflix password. But most of it would go to car repairs you've been putting off, and daycare expenses, and Little League signups, and local nonprofits, and religious organizations. Things that make your community stronger and more vital. Things that actually reflect your needs and values. This is what we have to make real as soon as possible. We're getting all these messages out of Washington and the media that things are great. Corporate profits, record highs. GDP, record highs. Unemployment looks great. But we all still have this feeling that things are not necessarily great in our communities. So we have corporate high record profits right now. You know what else are record highs in the United States of America? Depression, stress, substance abuse, student loan indebtedness, financial insecurity, suicides, mental illness. If your corporate profits are going up and your life expectancy is going down, which do you listen to? We know which one DC is listening to. DC can't even see people in life expectancy anymore. It can just see dollar signs. Washington, DC today is the richest city in our entire country. Think about that for a second. What do they produce? Yeah, that's actually true. Whatever they produce, business is awfully good. Donald Trump said he wanted to drain the swamp. I want to do something a little bit different. I want to distribute the swamp. Why do we employ hundreds of thousands of people in the most expensive city in the country? We should move those jobs to places like Michigan, Ohio, Iowa, Wisconsin. We'd save billions of dollars right off the bat. And I would argue that those agencies would make better decisions because they'd actually live someplace normal and not all be in a DC bubble just looking at each other. I'm also for term limits for members of Congress. Their goal should be to go to DC, do work on our behalf, and then come home. It should not be to go there and crouch for as long as possible and try and get rich. And I know how to pass term limits. You guys will love this. We go to, after I'm your president, about a year from now, thanks to you, thank you. We go to Congress and say, hey, let's pass term limits, 12 years for all members of Congress. But current lawmakers are exempt. Do you think they'll pass that? They'll pass that the next day. They'll be like, we do this for the people. Because they'll be like, hey, check this out. I get to stay here as long as I can and wait. And then everyone else who comes here has a term limit. But eventually they do get phased out. They lose, they age out. And then we have a much more dynamic and responsive legislature where the people are trying to do something for us and then come home. Their goal should be to do work and then come home. As your president, I pledge to you, after 8 years in office, solving problems for the people, I will leave the next day. You know, I don't want to stay in that town any longer than I have to, honestly. So this is a vision that we can take to the rest of the country very, very quickly, where we actually make the rules work for us. I know how flawed the economic measurements are because of my own family. My wife, who's on her way here to Iowa right now, which I'm very excited about. My wife is at home with our 2 boys every day, one of whom is autistic. How much is her work valued at in our economic measurements? She gets a 0. Evelyn gets a 0, as does every other stay-at-home parent in our country today. How about caregivers and people who are taking care of ailing loved ones? Also a 0. How about volunteers and activists who are trying to make things better in our communities? That gets a 0. Coaches and mentors who are trying to strengthen the next generation, 0. 98% of artists. I mean, it's tough, but true. I mean, most artists are doing it for the love. They're not exactly getting compensated at a high level. How about local journalists? We're zeroing out, at this point, almost 2,000 local newspapers. You know what doesn't function as well if you don't have local journalism? Democracy. Because how the heck can you vote on what's going on in your community if there's no one actually covering what's going on in your community? These are the things that we claim to value most in our lives, in our society, our families, our communities, our democracy, and we are allowing them to get zeroed out one by one by one. This is what you all must change. We have to make this case to our fellow Americans that we all have intrinsic value as people, as citizens, and as human beings, and that market value and human value are not the same things. Because this is a story of how everything today in America revolves around the almighty dollar. Here in America today, I was talking to my wife about this when I started the campaign. I said, hey, we should really get with the program and start giving people a freedom dividend so that we can make ourselves stronger, healthier, mentally healthier, everything else. And I went through the history with her. And she said, what the heck happened between the 60s and now, where it was front and center, mainstream political wisdom, past the House, this close, dividend in Alaska, to now it takes the futuristic Asian man to somehow drag it into the mainstream. And what we concluded together, Evelyn and I, is that somewhere between the 60s and now, we have been collectively brainwashed to think that economic value and human value are identical.
Yeah.
That our purpose is to somehow plug into this machine of capital efficiency, and if we aren't working out in the machine, then it's our fault. That's how you wind up with recommendations that coal miners become coders, which does not make any sense as soon as you reflect on it for just a second. It only makes sense if you assume that human value is based upon what the market says we're worth. And so if the market says you're not worth anything anymore, then we will somehow move heaven and earth to try and transform you into something the market likes, even though that makes no sense on the face of it. That's what we have to transform here in this country. We have to let people know, no, the machines work for us. We do not work for the machine.
Yeah.
The economy works for us. We don't work for the economy.
Yeah.
Now we have this GDP measurement that's going up and up. But even the inventor of GDP 100 years ago said this. He said, this is a terrible measurement for national well-being. We should never use it as that. And here we are 100 years later following it off a cliff. Robot trucks will be great for both GDP and corporate profits. They'll be very bad for many, many Americans. So instead of saying that somehow GDP and corporate profits are a proxy for our well-being, we should actually measure our progress through our well-being. As your president, I will take GDP and say, look, this is 100 years old, really out of date. Let's modernize it to include things like our wellness and life expectancy, our mental health and freedom from substance abuse, the proportion of Americans who can retire in quality circumstances, clean air and clean water, childhood success rates. These are the real measurements of our society, and I will present them to you each year at the State of the Union. I'll be the first president to use a PowerPoint deck at the State of the Union. So this is how we build a human-centered economy that works for us and our families. If you're a parent like me and Evelyn, at some point over the last number of years, you've had this sinking feeling that we're leaving our kids a future that is less secure, less stable, and less bright than the lives that we have led. The reason we feel that way is because it is that way. If you were born in the 1940s in the United States of America, there was a 93% chance that you were going to be better off than your parents were. That's the American dream. That's what brought my family here. That's what we've all aspired to. If you were born in the 1990s in the US, you're down to a 50-50 shot and it's declining fast. That is why Trump won. That is why the parents feel the way we do. Because it is true. We're leaving our kids a future that is less bright than the ones that they deserve. I'm not running for president because I dreamt about being president. I'm running for president because, like so many of you here tonight, I'm a parent and a patriot. I have seen the future that lies ahead for our kids, and they deserve better. I want to give them better, but I can't do it without you. We have to make this case loud and clear to the rest of the country that we can rewrite the rules of the 21st century economy to work for us, to work for our families, and give us the ability to look our kids in the eyes and say, we fought for you, and your country loves you, your country values you, and your country will invest in you. We can make all of this happen on February 3rd. That's the magic. That's why I love being here so much. Donald Trump's our president today because he had a very simple message. He said he was going to make America great again. What did Hillary Clinton say in response?
Already great.
America's already great. Remember that, Vandy? It's been a long 3 years, I know. But it's about to end. That response did not go over that well for a lot of Americans because the problems are real. We have to acknowledge their depth and severity, but then we need solutions that will actually move our communities and our country forward. What were Donald Trump's solutions? Build a wall, turn the clock back, bring the old jobs back. Iowa, you know we have to do the opposite of these things. We have to turn the clock forward. We have to accelerate our economy and society to rise to the real challenges of the 21st century. We have to evolve in the way we see ourselves and our work and our value. I am the ideal candidate for this job because the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. Thank you all very much. You may not know this, but math is an acronym, and what does it stand for? Make America think harder. That's right. That's your job in just a couple of weeks. It's your job to move this country not left, not right, but forward. And I know that's just where you will take us. Thank you all very much. Conrad's got a mic.
Hi, my name is Lisa Ann. I want to say thank you to Evelyn for her courage, coming out in support of sexual assault survivors. I would like to talk to you about military sexual trauma, sexual assault survivors in the military. I'm one. Last year, 26,500 veterans, military service members were sexually assaulted. That was just fiscal year 2018. 80% of female veterans that were talked to at the VA mentioned that they were sexually harassed or sexually assaulted during their time of service. And more men per capita are sexually assaulted than women. So I'd like to know you, I know you signed a pledge for the Military Justice Improvement Act. For those who don't know, it's to move the convening authority away from the member.
Yeah.
Which means that, to get justice in the military, you have to go to the commander, and a lot of times, the perpetrator is in the same chain of command.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And you don't get the regular justice of going to the Judge Advocate General. So I'm thank you for that, that means a lot to survivors. But as Commander-in-Chief, will you not only sign the bill, but will you push Congress to put the bill through finally at a subcommittee and get that bill signed?
Well, first, let's all thank Lisa Ann for her service. I will 100% commit to signing that bill. It's common sense that if you are assaulted by someone who's in the chain of command, you're unlikely to get the kind of hearing you deserve if you're going to the same chain of command to try and enact discipline or accountability. So you need the ability to go outside the chain of command, and the JAG Corps is there to help make sure that you actually get a fair hearing. And obviously, issues of sexual assault are very near and dear to me and my family. I'm incredibly proud of what Evelyn did this past week. I'm going to talk about that just a bit. So So she told me, obviously a number of months ago, that this had transpired. And as I've been running for president, she had not been campaigning until relatively recently, because we have 2 kids, one of whom has special needs, and so there was a bit of a, compartmentalization of the family. But as she was campaigning, she talked to so many women like you who were survivors of sexual assault and had struggled with various ways of trying to get justice or hold people accountable. And she was inspired by people like you and realized that out of all of the women who experience this kind of issue, there are very, very few that have a platform that can actually talk about it. And while she was working up the courage to talk about it, or the conviction, I mean, she's very brave. She was brave enough to do anytime she wanted. As her husband, it was very difficult for me because as her husband, you're just like, you should do exactly what you want to do. But there was part of me that was like, but if you do this, I'm 100% behind you because I want justice for you. I want justice for all these women. I want justice for the fact that in our case, that this doctor victimized and preyed on dozens, probably hundreds of women, and essentially got off with a slap on the wrist. So imagine being the husband of a victim in this way, where you very much want this out because you want other women to be able to know that they're not alone in this, but obviously it's completely up to the victim herself. But I'm so proud of what Evelyn's done. Like seeing the outpouring of love and support has been incredibly touching and moving for me and her. And I feel like she feels like this weight has lifted off of her as a result. And I sense that you've been through a similar process, Lisa Ann. And I can't thank you enough for it. You're a hero on multiple levels, one for serving the country, and 2 for sharing your story and trying to see to it that other women have a better process and course of action than you had.
So there has been an increase in mass shootings at schools, public areas, and I'm confused. No, I'm just wondering, what are you planning on doing about it as president? Like you say, common sense gun control. Do you have like any specific laws or stuff you're gonna do?
First, what's your name? How old are you?
My name is Aaron, and I'm 12.
Wow, Aaron, so awesome. I got a note from my son's school that they were having active shooter drills a little bit earlier this year. My son is 4. And so I looked at the data, the studies, and I said, okay, do these active shooter drills save lives? And I could find no information that indicated that they did. I then looked for information saying, do these active shooter drills cause stress, anxiety, uncertainty among kids and families? And I found a whole stack of dots. So to me, it should be in the hands of the individual community and the school district whether they want to conduct these drills. It should not be something that is somehow required of them by, certainly not the federal government, but even the state government. I think it should be left in the hands of parents and schools. Now we have a gun violence epidemic in this country, and we need to do everything we can to try and curb it. So the first thing is, as you said, common sense gun safety laws that most Americans agree on. So that's universal background checks, red flag laws, banning high capacity automatic weapon magazines, things that the vast majority of Americans at this point agree on. But if you look at gun violence as a continuum, there are all sorts of things that we can hopefully do to improve matters. So almost 2/3 of gun deaths are suicides, as one example. And if we had a self-destruct button on our bodies, most of us know we would have pressed it at some point in our lives in like a moment of weakness. That then passes a second later and you're like, well, that was dumb. But if you're a gun owner, sometimes you make irreversible, tragic decisions that end up tearing your family apart that you would have regretted a moment later. So this is something that gun owners themselves are, victims as well. So we need to invest in mental health infrastructure. We need to invest in schools. As a parent of a special needs boy, I know that if you have the wrong boy in the wrong school, some very bad things can happen, generally to the boy, but sometimes there are externalities for the communities. And we should also face facts that 98% of the shooters you're talking about, Aaron, are boys and men. This is a boy and men problem. And there's something going wrong where our boys are not becoming strong, healthy young men in many instances. I believe part of it is that our schools are like assembly lines that don't have the resources to properly account for kids' different learning styles or neurological profiles or maturation rates. That boys often are later bloomers, they show up to school, they have more behavioral issues, they could use more support. Schools don't have the resources for that. So this is what we need to change. We need to put more resources into schools so that the kids actually have a greater degree of individualized support, particularly if they have special needs. Right now there's a bill that Congress signed a while ago that said that Congress will fund 40% of the special needs resources in our communities. It being DC, they do not actually fund 40%. They fund 15%, which leaves many communities out to dry. I'm saying the federal government should fund 100% and take it off of the school budget so that if someone shows up and needs some extra resources, that it's paid for. I think we should lighten up on standardized tests on our kids. Did you know that we popularized the SAT during World War II as a means to identify which kids not to send to the front lines? And we now use it every year, like every year is wartime. This treats our kids like they are on an assembly line, like they all have the same maturation rate. It curbs teacher discretion because teachers are teaching to something, teaching to the test instead of doing what's right for the individual child. So it's a gun problem, it's a mental health problem, it's a school problem, it's a family problem, it's an economic problem. Like, we have to do everything we can to try and attack every link in the chain for gun violence. Certainly, you have to look at guns. But the reality is there are over 300 million firearms in this country. Almost one for every man, woman, and child. There are a lot of guns in this country. I would offer a voluntary buyback at all times, so if you have an old gun you'd like to trade in and get off your hands, we should just buy it from you. I would also offer complimentary upgrades to a signature gun where you're the only person that can fire the gun because of the shape of your hand and the palm print and the grip. Essentially turn any gun you want into a James Bond gun. With a thought process being that if that gun goes into someone else's hands, they can't fire it. So it's cool for you, the owner, it's safer, feel like your kids can't do anything terrible with it, and that makes us safer. So those are the things that I would invest in to try and make our gun supply safer over time. But we have to try and attack every link in the chain and not just say that if we pass certain laws that the gun violence epidemic will diminish greatly, because the odds are it will not unless we do everything in our power. Go ahead, Conrad. Bestow the microphone. It's a small enough room for this chat. Be like, I don't need.
Hi Andrew, my name is Liam McHugh. I had dinner with a good buddy of mine last night, and I know he loves your ideas, I know I do. But he's also pro-life, he's Catholic, and he wanted me to ask you that question as regards, late-term abortions, and what would your pitch be to him?
Sure.
Because I know he wants to come on board.
Well, thank him and thank you, Liam. I believe that women's reproductive rights are freedoms that should be exercised by the woman, and that the government should not be circumscribing those freedoms. That said, I do not believe that any American is excited about people deciding not to have children based on any of a number of factors. And one of those factors I'm going to suggest is that people don't feel they have the economic liberty or resources to actually raise a child successfully. I got a note from someone who's probably not that unlike her friend, who said, look, Andrew, I like you, I am pro-life, I have realized that this freedom dividend and humanization of the economy that you are championing is the most pro-life policy that anyone is talking about, because it would mean that we actually have the freedom to have children, and if we do have children, that we actually have resources to help raise them fruitfully. And so even though I differ with you on whether or not the government should be, in my mind, circumscribing or limiting women's reproductive rights and freedoms, I will support you because I believe you are pro-life in the larger sense. And so that is the case I would make to your friend. I do believe that women should be able to do what they want when it comes to these sorts of decisions. I do not think it should be the government's role to make those decisions, but I also believe that we should be celebrating and championing life in fundamental ways in our country that we are not right now. Right now, we are almost pathologically anti-woman and anti-family. And as a symptom of this, there are 2 countries in the world that do not have paid family leave for new mothers. The United States of America and Papua New Guinea. And here's the darkest thing. I memorized the same list a year ago, and it had 3 other countries on it. Liberia, Swaziland, and Lesotho. Those 3 countries passed paid leave for new moms in the last year. And we did not. So I believe this would be also something that's very, very good for moms and families. Where it said, look, 6 months leave paid for any new mom. Because that's better for the better for the mom, better for the child, and better for our economy. Because saying that paid family leave is bad for business is so dumb. You know what's really bad for business? Moms leaving the workforce because they're not going to get supported and they can't even get like a month off to spend time with their newborn. So these are the things that I believe we can do that are going to make our society more pro-family in fundamental ways. And I believe that these things are things that would make people more able to be excited about having children and starting a family.
What about health care and drug costs?
Thank you for the question. We need to have healthcare as a right of citizenship in this country. And for prescription drug prices in particular, I've got a 5-part plan to bring the cost down. Because it's crazy. Like there are so many Americans I talk to who can't afford prescription drugs that they've already been prescribed. They're rationing them, they're making choices between the drugs and food and heating oil. So here's the plan to get the prices down. Number 1, the US government has to be able to negotiate for lower prices on behalf of Americans. That sounds very obvious, but the drug lobby is so powerful in Washington that we're not actually allowed to negotiate for lower prices. They can set their own prices. Is that madness? Yeah. Oh yeah, it's madness. Number 2, drug companies are not allowed to charge us more than they charge citizens of other countries. You know they charge us 2, 3, 4 times as much now, even though we subsidize the development of the drugs. Does that make sense to anyone? No. Number 3, if they fail at number 2, then we can forcibly license the drug from them. And then number 4, manufacture it in a public facility. And then number 5, we reserve the right to import drugs from other countries and other markets to keep prices lower. Do you think that this would get prices down? This is the only way to ever get prices down because we know the drug companies only understand one thing: money. If we all went outside the drug company headquarters and said, do the right thing every day for the rest of our lives, zero impact. They just walk by and be like, whatever, get out of our way. But if you hit them in the wallet, then they'll all of a sudden be like, oh, I guess like we have to start listening to this. And I know how perverse things are because I have a friend who's a genius financial analyst, and she went through the numbers of the drug companies, and she said she has never seen price gouging and profiteering at this level in any other industry she's ever looked at. She says it's so out of control that she's now betting against those companies, and she's backing my campaign because she says, like, you're gonna have to make this right. What happened with the drug companies is an emblem of what's gone wrong in America today. where we know that the companies have the run of the government, they're running circles around it. Their lobbyists are much more powerful than we are. And so the drug companies can stick it to you every single year. Has anyone ever gotten this note from their drug company? Good news, the prices went down. Has anyone ever gotten that note from their private insurance company? No. Their business model is just to raise prices every year. And it's reached a point where now it's breaking our backs. And now it's time for us to break their backs. And I'm just the man for the job. It's very, very dark what has happened in America. Yes, so thank you for the question. We can get our healthcare costs under control very, very quickly because I've seen the numbers. We're spending $3.6 trillion on our healthcare right now, 18% of GDP, to worse results than other countries. 30% of the $3.6 trillion is waste. But when I say waste, I mean waste that ends up profiting for the drug companies, the device companies, and the private insurance companies. They're all just incredibly wealthy at our expense. They're like this hidden tax on the American people. And we need to go and clean it up. Sure, I love the questions. I'll answer questions all night.
My name is Patrick Junker. I'm 18 years old. So I got a question about how we're going to pay for the universal basic income. So why is the value-added tax system the best system to pay for universal basic income? And what steps will you take to make sure that Amazon and other big businesses don't avoid these taxes like they've been doing with every other tax? And, yeah.
Oh, thanks for the question, Patrick. You're 18. That means you're going to vote. Yes. I love to borrow what works someplace else. There are other developed countries that have figured out that it's unacceptable for the Amazons of the world to pay zero in taxes. So they set up a value-added tax that's essentially like a transaction tax at the point of sale. So Amazon right now is based partially in Seattle, partially in DC, looks like they have a little New York office. Let's say hypothetically that they decided to just flee the country. It doesn't matter because every time they sell to us, we get that sliver, and so they can't wriggle their way out of it. We're the #1 market in the world. Our economy is $21 trillion and counting. Anyone who sells to us has to pay back into the system. Other countries have done this, and it's very, very hard it's almost impossible to gain your way out of. And the vital importance of this is that when artificial intelligence is doing more work, we're going to see none of that value unless we have this kind of mechanism, where you then get a sliver of that value. Like every time that software picks up the phone call and like talks to us or whatnot, like that's going to give a zero unless you have like a tiny, tiny transaction tax. The great thing about this freedom dividend is that you put this money into our hands, and there are a number of ways it ends up paying for itself. Number one, after the money circulates through your town over and over again, is the garage, daycare service, local restaurant. Are they all going to have to hire an extra person? Maybe. And then is that person going to end up paying taxes and having generating more revenue? We generate hundreds of billions in new tax revenue because of increased economic activity. So that's one way we pay for it. Another way is that we're going to spend less on things like incarceration, homelessness services, emergency room healthcare. It was a corrections officer in New Hampshire who said this to me. He said, we should pay people to stay out of jail because it's so expensive when they're in jail. And think about that. You know what the cost structures of jails must be like or are like. So we think we're being smart by saying, ooh, we're not going to invest in our people. We end up paying through the nose in much more expensive and punitive ways when they hit our institutions. If they hit our prisons or our shelters or our emergency rooms, the costs go through the roof. So we save on that. And then the third way we get this money back is that one study said that if you were to alleviate financial deprivation and poverty at this level, it would increase our GDP by $700 billion a year just based on better health and education outcomes for the American people. Think about that. And it kind of makes sense. It's like, would we be healthier if we were only getting another $12,000 a year? Yeah, think about what that health change would mean for our economy. Yes. Would our kids graduate from schools at higher levels? Yes. Would we all be in better position to start a business, do something creative, do something that contributes to our community's health and well-being? So these are the ways that we end up generating a lot of this value in the trickle-up economy, but it starts by getting our fair share of the Amazons and Googles and the Facebooks of the world that are siphoning value out of our communities. And I know this would work because it's impossible to game your way out of this transaction tax, and other countries have already done it. Before we go, I just want to talk for a second about climate change. How many of you are deeply concerned about climate change? I am too, and I believe that we can make progress on it more quickly by doing a few big things together. Number one, we should put a price on pollution day one. So if you're emitting tons and tons of carbon, then you pay a carbon fee, and then we take those resources and move us towards more sustainable energy sources. Number two, I think a lot of this is tied to financial insecurity, where if you have 78% of our fellow Americans living paycheck to paycheck, which we do, and half can't afford an unexpected $500 bill, which they can, if you go to them and say, hey, we need to fight climate change, what do many of them say? I can't pay next month's rent. I can't worry about problems that are a year or 10 years down the line. And then what's the next human response? It's probably not that big a deal anyway, you know? What we have to do is get the boot off of people's throats and reverse this mindset of scarcity that is bringing everyone's heads down and making us unable to solve big problems like this, and replace it with a mindset of abundance, where people realize, my future's secure, I'm gonna be here a while, my kid's gonna be here a while, and then when you come and say, hey, we need to worry about climate change, they'll be like, yeah, we really do. I saw the floods, you know, I see what's happening. The third thing we have to do is change our economic measurements to include what the cost of climate change is. How much will climate change cost? Our economy is $21 trillion a year, to give you a sense. So what's the cost of climate change going to be? Trillions of dollars over time, and unfortunately thousands and thousands of lives. When you go to Americans and say we need to fight climate change, you know a lot of them hear, my prices are going to go up, it's going to be more inconvenient, and there are going to be jobs lost. That's what they hear. What we have to do is we have to incorporate climate change into our economic measurements and let people see that doing nothing is actually very, very expensive. And that if we head in this direction, we can actually generate jobs and economic value, because we should be investing tens, hundreds of billions of dollars in making our community stronger and more resilient and more adaptive right now. One thing I cannot stand is when politicians talk about preventing climate change. What's wrong with that statement? We're already on the curve. The last 4 years have been the 4 warmest years in recorded history. How many of you have seen the photos from Australia? Those are like freaking apocalyptic science fiction movie photos, but they're real. 1 billion animals dead. Can you imagine how much carbon has been blasted into our atmosphere because of the Australian wildfire? So talk about preventing climate change is not the right approach. We have to say we have to adapt and acknowledge the fact that it's here now, it's going to get worse. We should invest in making ourselves safer right now. And the United States of America is only 15% of global emissions. The rest of the world is 85%. And in the rest of the world, China is going to African governments and saying, hey, great news, I've got a coal-burning power plant for you. What do you think? And then what is the African government saying? Thank you. Thumbs up, thank you. So if we wanted to change that, what would we need to do? Show up to the same African government and say, do not take the coal-burning power plant, take these solar panels, and we will subsidize them to a point where it's actually a no-brainer for you. So that's where we have to start leading if we're realistic about trying to bring the curve down. This is a mammoth undertaking, but it's something that we have to start being more realistic about. Because the question in my mind is, when the floods come, storms come, the wildfires come to various communities, Are we going to leave them on their own? Or are we going to say, look, this is not a you problem, this is an us problem? Are we going to wait until the disaster strikes, or are we going to actually prepare before the disaster strikes? It's much cheaper to prepare now. It's more expensive to say we're going to rebuild after the fact. So we need to start incorporating this into our economic measurements today and say the cost of doing nothing is enormous. So by investing now, we can create jobs and actually save ourselves money. So I want to end on that note because I know climate change is a very big deal. It's a big deal to me too. Work to do. So much work to do, and it begins on February 3rd, and I can't wait. All right, are we selfieing or questioning?
Selfie. Yes.
We gotta do selfies, bud.
We're gonna do selfies. If you'd like a selfie with Andrew, we're gonna ask you to line up right over here where Lacey is raising her hand, and we're gonna loop behind the building. In the meantime, Andrew's gonna do a little bit of press. Thanks everyone for coming.
If you guys would not like a selfie from Andrew, but you would like to get a shout out on camera from Andrew, what you need to do is go to theyangame.com right now and donate to the next president of the United States, Andrew Yang. Oh wait. Let's jump in the press pool. Hold on.
The 3 minutes already started. It's not 2 minutes.
Frankly, we waited about 30 seconds to talk. This is a new get. This doesn't count. So you've talked multiple times here at different events in Iowa about manufacturing jobs, truck drivers using jobs. What specifically, walking around the state, have you learned that you as Commander-in-Chief of Iowa?
Related to what you just said?
Beyond what the things you've talked about, beyond manufacturing and truck driving, things specific to Iowa.
Iowa is front and center in terms of the changes that have been happening on our farms. I've talked to many farmers here who have seen that family farms have gotten gobbled up and consolidated by much larger firms. And the family farmers I've talked to had a real problem with succession, where in many cases the next generation may not be in a position to take over that farm. And so some of them are being forced to sell at lower values than the So these are some of the issues that are very specific to Iowa. I also talked to farmers who were furious about concentrated who said that they had plans that developed for months or years that had to be thrown away. They had to fire people and disinvest because of the tariffs. And they were furious because to them, their plans being trashed had nothing to do with the actual dispute with China. And I agree with that. Iowan farmers and producers should not be dragged into a trade war that had nothing to do with it. Iowa starting line. Sorry.
When you're coming up with your policy solutions, how do you balance some of the factors of considering economy, trying to balance that percentage of your campaign of detaching economic worth from human value?
Well, to me, the economy has to work for people and not the other way around. Right now, who's the economy work for? Really, really big intellectual companies that are paying much less in taxes. So we have to change that. We have to get more value into our advantage, which would make our families and communities really happier. And then you actually have to measure how we are doing as opposed to other people. So the changes are very much hand in hand. If you put more money into our hands, does that improve our telecommunication outcomes and our social media? Yes, it does. If you put money into the company's hands, does that improve our health and mental health and well-being? Unfortunately, no, it doesn't. We're pretending that we still have the economy of the 70s or 80s, where if a company gets rich, they need to employ lots of people, treat them well, give them good jobs and benefits, and invest in their homeland. Today, none of those things are true. Companies become very successful without hiring lots of people. If they do hire people, they're often gig workers or contractors that don't have benefits. They sell to everyone, so they don't care about their own backyard. We have to get with the program that what's good for the biggest companies is no longer good for the average family and average. And then reorganize our economic measurement
Yang, 2 quick questions. I know you were at church earlier today. Tell me a little bit about how that came about. You were with the choir. And then the second question is, Evelyn Yang spoke at the Women's March yesterday in New York City. She talked about big structural change as it relates to your campaign. Is that a phrase you embrace for what you're trying to do and for your campaign?
So this morning was delightful, attending the Union Baptist Church, and I was very, very touched when the choir started singing, and they actually beckoned me to come sing with them. So I went to sing with them, and then they actually took a robe off. One of them took the robe off of themselves and put it on me, and so then I got to sing with the choir, and it was wonderful because in my mind, it's always better to be participating in an activity than observing it. Now, observing the choir was a lot of fun because they're great, but singing the choir was even better, and dancing a little bit too, because they're a very rhythmic choir. They had a good step going. So that's how that happened. I'm very appreciative to the choir for including me, and I was thrilled that they had me. Evelyn talked about how we need big structural change in the economy, and then she called me afterwards and joked and said, hey, I think that's an Elizabeth Warren phrase, and then we both had a laugh about it. Now, the idea that we need big structural change in our economy is 100% right. We do need very big changes in many aspects of how we're currently doing things. Because that phrase is an Elizabeth Warren catchphrase, I think Evelyn and I are going to not use it not much because, Elizabeth's been using it much more commonly. I happen to agree with Elizabeth on this. I mean, she's right. So we'll come up with some other way to convey the idea. We admire Elizabeth and her campaign a great deal. We have a lot of the same goals, but we'll come up with a different way to describe it.
Is this some kind of nudge to get a VP nod, maybe?
That's interesting.
I was wondering,
we gotta go.
in your debate, you
Do you have a line of food, man?
talked about the impeachment being a obsession, voters think that it was like a movement. That's not really the way that the Democratic Do you disagree with that?
I agree with impeachment. I think it's the right thing to do. I talked to Nancy Pelosi a number of days ago, and I agree with her that Democrats do not have a choice. At the same time, we should be realistic about the prospects of impeachment succeeding, where very, very few Republicans have signaled an openness to impeachment proceedings. And you need 20 Republicans to change their minds or hearts in order for impeachment to be successful. So this does strike many Americans like a ballgame where we know what the score is going to be until that mindset changes among Senate Republicans. Our job has to be to present a positive vision to the rest of the country that's going to move the country forward and help us defeat Donald Trump in 2020. We have to solve the problems that got him elected instead of acting like the cause of all of our ills. That's what I'm focused on, that's what my campaign is focused on, and that's what the Iowans I talked to tonight and everywhere I go are focused on. As you can tell from this event, there were 0 questions about impeachment. You know how many questions I get about impeachment regularly? 0. I can't remember the last time an American asked me about impeachment. So I wish the cable networks would focus more on the problems that got Donald Trump elected and stop focusing on impeachment itself. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah, what's up?
I'd like a picture with Amber to have your phone out on camera, please.
Alright guys, so this is what we need you to do right now. We need you to donate to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. All your donations go directly to the next president of the United States, Andrew Yang. But we need your guys' help. No comment. Excuse me, ma'am. Mind if I squeeze by you here? Sorry.
See you later.
Thank you.
Whoever has the highest donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link will get a shout out from Andrew Yang. Let's look at our donations so far. Thank you, Brandon, for the $3.33 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Wilfredo, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Shu Hong, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Fong, for the $25 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Sylvia, for the $5 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Moya. I probably didn't say that right. I'm so sorry. For the $25 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Hal, for the $100 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Dan, for the $25 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Jessica, for the $10 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Jessica, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Maureen, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Karen, for the $1 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Daniel, for the $1 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Samuel, for the $200 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Kathleen, for your second donation of the day. $10 to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Mike, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Patricia, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Marut, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Eric, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Michael, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Amy, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Robert, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Nadir, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Andrew, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Deborah, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Clement, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Emma, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Pascal, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Christopher, for the donation of $20.20, which is going to help power this man right here, Andrew Yang, to become the next president in 2020. We appreciate all of your financial support. Thank you, Shauna, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Ruby, for the $15 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. And I think that catches us up on our donations, but some new ones did roll in. Thank you, Lawrence, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Anthony, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Phil, for the $4.20 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Cole, for the $4.20 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. So it looks like our highest donor right now is Samuel at $200, which means... No, this is Matt. Which means that Daniel is the current donation leader for the shout-out on camera. If you would like a shout-out on camera, on stream, from the next president of the United States, you need to donate $200 or more right now. Thank you, John, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. So if you're unsure what the yanggame.com donation link is, basically, if you go into your browser here and you type in the yanggame.com, and then you click on it, it will bring you to this Act Blue referral page, which goes directly to Andrew Yang. Now, so far, we've raised $88,992, but that was before we told the campaign that we would raise them another $100,000. And that was when we were at about $77,000. So we need to raise about $89,000. Basically, we need to double this $89,000 number. And the only way it happens is with all of you guys. And the only way this campaign keeps going on is with all of you guys, because we truly are a campaign powered by the people, which means we need all of you to donate right now to Andrew Yang. Who sent this comment in the chat?
Thank you so much.
We need your donations. We need your money. Who will donate more than $200 to become the new leader for the donation shout-out from Andrew Yang, your next president. I don't want to be embarrassed when I go up and tell him that our top donation was $200. He'll appreciate it. Oh my gosh, never mind. Fong is the new donation leader at $300. Fong just donated $300 to the next president of the United States, Andrew Yang, through the yanggame.com donation link. Fong is the new donation leader. If you have a crush on Matt, then donate $50 and I might hang out with you. Probably not. Oh, we just got a $100 donation from Logan. Thank you so much, Logan, for spending your hard-earned money to help believe in this, help make this campaign happen. We're gonna shock the world in Iowa. Then we're gonna win New Hampshire. We're gonna go to Nevada and make things happen. We're gonna shock the world again in South Carolina, and then we're gonna destroy, well, not literally destroy, but win the whole thing on Super Tuesday. We are going all the way. This is a campaign powered by all of your small dollar donations, which means if you're in the chat right now and you feel, wow, they're dropping $50, $100, $300. Just remember, all we need is you to donate $1 and you become part of the movement. You become one of the over 400,000 donors who have donated to Andrew Yang. Apparently I missed a $10 donation, Ted says. Ted, text me the name. Thank you, Tong, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, David, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Ted says, go through the list again. Ted, this is a very long list. Whoever name I missed, I am so sorry. Thank you, David. Did I already say David? For the $25 donation, Andrew Yang, through the yanggame.com donation link.
You're a volunteer coordinator.
He needs your money. He needs your money. He needs your money. Please donate your money to the next president of the United States. He needs your money. He needs your money. He needs your money. If you're feeling like, wow, these people are dropping $100, $200, $300 left and right, just remember, you can donate $1 right now and be part of the movement. 400,000 donors. Over 400,000 donors. Over 1 million individual contributions. And if you can't donate, there are other ways to help the campaign. Go to yang2020.com/text and you can text bank voters in Iowa, in the rest of the early states, and get them interested in Andrew Yang. You can phone bank and call voters in Iowa and help them learn more about the campaign and help us shock the world on February 3rd. Thank you, Sam, for the $1.68 donation. Much appreciated. Through to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, John, for the $50 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Karen, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Now remember, our current donation leader, thank you, Joshua, for the $5.67 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Now, this selfie line here, as you can see, is still pretty deep. But what we need is one of you to either match or top Fong at $300, and you become the new donation leader. Thank you, thank you, Aaliyah, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. We really appreciate your donations. How many people do we have to caucus? We need 40 to 50,000 Iowans. Thank you, Alan, for his second donation of the night of $4.20. That puts him at a total of $8.40. Thank you, Alan, for making the sacrifice. This is the way we got to look at it. If you skip a Starbucks this week, if you skip, I don't know what else people buy. Starbucks is just the thing, I think. If you put your Netflix subscription on pause for a month, you can donate $5 or $10 more to the campaign. Thank you, Phil, for the $6.90 donation. Do you want me to say 69 on stream? Someone donates $69 and I'll say it on stream. Thank you, Phil, for the $6.90 donation, Andrew Yang. Thank you, Tim, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Evelyn. Evelyn, what a nice name. For the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. If you have ever used the sniff test to tell if your clothes are clean enough to wear, then donate right now through this link. $1, just $1. There are still 1,217 of you watching Andrew Yang shake hands and take selfies with people. But where is your money? We need you to donate right now to Andrew Yang using the secure Act Blue link. Oh my gosh, we just got a new breaking news. Raymond with the $500 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Raymond is now the donation leader. Fong, if you would like to still get the shout out from Andrew Yang, you will have to drop another $200 to match Raymond. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Remember, you can donate using PayPal, a credit card, I think maybe some other forms of payment, but PayPal definitely works. Using our secure Act Blue link, which helps the campaign know that we are here, all of you on stream, helping support them every second, which is why they're currently allowing us to stand 10 feet away from the next president of the United States. But we need your money. Raymond is the new donation leader at $500. Now, here's what we can do right now. If just 10 of you step up and donate $50 right now to match Raymond's donation, we will suddenly have raised $1,000. But we need your money now. We need your money. We need your money. See this guy right here? He wants to make it rain. He wants to make it rain on the USA. So what we need to do is you need to donate right now to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. But it only, thank you, Victor, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. The only way he will be able to make it rain for all of you, $1,000 a month. Look at it as an investment. Andrew gets into the White House, you guys get your $1,000 a month, and suddenly you're going to be getting $12,000 a year for life. Over 10 years, that's $120,000. If you live to be 100 years old, minus the first 18 years of your life, that is some number that I can't do in my head, but I'm sure that this guy, Andrew, could do it because he's super good at math. So you need to donate right now. Oh my gosh. How? With the $500 donation, we now have 2 donation leaders. Raymond and Hal each have donated $500 of their hard-earned money to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Raymond and Hal, let's go. Thank you, Francisco, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Tino, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Now, another factor holding back your donations, guys, is probably your husband or wife will get upset at you for donating money to Andrew Yang. Now, the thing about that is, happy wife or happy husband, happy life. But if Andrew Yang gets elected, we are going to have free marriage counseling. So put your financial problems behind you and donate right now through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. It is these small dollar donations that help this campaign, that power this campaign forward to keep going. The selfie line is still about 15 people deep, which means if someone matches or exceeds Hal and Raymond, who each have donated $500, you will get a shout out from the next president of the United States. Now look at it this way. When Andrew's president, and all your friends are like, wow, I wish I got on board the train early. I wish I was part of the first 500,000 donors to Andrew Yang. I wish I got a shout out on camera from Andrew Yang before he even shocked the world on February 3rd in Iowa. You can do that right now, but you have to match the $500 donation from Hal or Raymond. Thank you, David, for his second donation of the night of $25 to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Did you guys know that Andrew Yang has the highest percentage of something for every dollar raised? Basically, he spends his money very efficiently. Thank you, Rich Ann, for the $3 donation to the next president of the United States, Andrew Yang, through the yanggame.com donation link. Now, here's another thing. Thank you, Logan, for the $310 donation to Andrew Yang. Is that Logan's second donation to the stream? Logan, Logan, you are at a total of $410. Thank you so much. But unfortunately, Raymond and Hal are still the donation leaders. Oh, Fong just dropped $200. Fong is now tied. Fong, wait a second. Fong, let me check Fong. Fong might actually be the donation leader. No, Fong is actually the donation leader at $525. It's a bidding war. Fong donated $25 at 8:14 p.m., then $300 at 8:23 p.m., and then at 8:33 p.m., Fong donated another $200. Fong has just spoiled the day for Raymond and Hal. We have a bidding war for the shout-out. Fong is the donation leader at $525. Thank you, Christy, for the $50 donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you again, Logan, who is at $410 for the donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. It is a bidding war. This selfie line is narrowing down. Will someone else step up their donation? The current leader is Fong at $525. Thank you, Kara and Christy, for the $50 and $5 donation to Andrew Yang, respectively, through the yanggame.com donation link. This is why it is called the Yang Game, guys, because it is a bidding war. It is a bidding war for the shout-out from the next president of the United States. Who will top Fong? Fong spoiled your day, Raymond. Fong spoiled your day, Hal. Now what you can do is spoil their day by donating $26. And then suddenly, Fong will no longer be the donation lead. By the way, everyone who donated tonight, we really do truly appreciate it. And we do a bunch of little tricks and games to try to get you guys to donate even more. But at the end of the day, we truly do appreciate every single dollar donated to the campaign, and this guy right here truly appreciates every single dollar to the campaign, donated to the campaign. Thank you, Tippy, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Our selfie line is down to about 10 people. Who else will make it rain? Let me actually go to our internal Act Blue page so that I can get up-to-date information on our donations. Remember a few minutes ago, guys, when I showed you that we were at $89,897? We are now at $91,010. Just in the last 15 minutes, we've raised over $1,000 for Andrew Yang. Okay, I am now on the Secure Act Blue page. Thank you, Evelyn. Another Evelyn. Is that the same Evelyn? I can't tell. I love the name, Evelyn. With the second $5 donation night. Evelyn with the second $5 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Ariana, for the $1 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Let me refresh our internal page here. Thank you, Chong, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Richard, for the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Ooh, Zach Grumman just tweeted. There's Zach Grumman over there tweeting, and I guarantee you, if we asked him right now, he would ask you to donate to Andrew Yang.
Okay.
This guy just said he wasn't on Andrew's radar till tonight, and now he's on his radar. That's why you guys got to keep donating, because what we're doing is working. Thank you, Scott, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Gary, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Hold up. Fong, we may have a problem for you. Fong, we may have a problem for you. Fong, it appears... Wait a second. I was wrong. How? Hold up. Fong, you are not the donation leader. How donated $100 at 8:13 p.m. and then $500 at 8:30 p.m. And How just donated another $50, which means the new donation leader is How. So How, I'm so sorry for missing that first $100 donation. You are the donation leader at $650. How is now the donation leader at $650. How donated $100, then $500, and then $50 more. How is now the donation leader for the shout out. The selfie line is dwindling. Who will make it happen? Ooh, someone just wanted to have some fun. Thank you, Harry, for the $10 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggaming.com donation link. Thank you, Cedic, hopefully I said that right, for the $25 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggaming.com donation link. Thank you, Rob Ben, for the $12 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggaming.com donation link. Hold up, what is happening here? Whoa, what is this? Oh my gosh, donate for this pose, someone donate. Thank you, Phil, for making me say this. Thank you, Phil, for the $69 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Demetrios, for the $10 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Sylvia, for the $5 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Oh my gosh, Fong just upped his bid. Fong just upped his bid. Fong just put in $200, which means, let me check, Fong. Fong is now the donation leader. Fong has donated a total of 25 plus 300 plus 200 plus 200. Fong has donated $725 and is now the new donation leader. I am so sorry, Hal, but Fong is now the donation leader at $725. Thank you, Demetrios, for the $10 donation, Andrew Yang. Sylvia, for the $5 donation, Andrew Yang. Tom, with the $25 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. And now we are all caught up. Unfortunately, it looks like Fong is now the new donation leader at $725. They don't call it the Yang Game for no reason. It is because it is a game. It literally is a game show. Whoever donates the most gets the shout out. Oh my gosh, wait a second. Holy crap. How is making it rain with the $350 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. If you guys want Zach to stop squinting at you angrily, you got to donate to Andrew Yang right now. Thank you, Logan, for the $150 donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link.
You guys see we're at 6% New Jersey, the most important poll of the cycle. I tweeted out the New Mexico poll, and I was like, this is the poll we needed, and people thought I was serious. Iowa, New Hampshire, it's on there. And I will say, like, if you're like, oh man, we're only at 6% New Hampshire, like, we'll bump up if we do well in Iowa and New Hampshire. That's how it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely insane. And also that poll is like 400 people with a margin of error of 5%. I'm really there.
How is now the new donation leader. How has donated $100, $500, $50, and then $350, which puts How at $1,000 for Andrew Yang. How has donated $1,000 just tonight to Andrew Yang. How is the donation leader at $100. How you have done it. Hold up, let me try to reload here. Thank you, Tom, for the $25 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation. Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Love you,
Tom. He loves you. Thank you, Logan, for the $150 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Thank you, Nabiha, for the $5 donation. Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com donation link. Holy crap. Okay, I don't even know who the donation leader is now because Fong just donated another $300 to Andrew Yang, which means Fong is now the new donation leader. But because we have two people who are over $1,000, we now have two donation leaders. How at $1,000 and Fong at $1,025. That is how it works. Once we have two people break $1,000, they both become the donation leader. Fong and How, thank you for outbidding each other and making it rain for the campaign. Fong and How, oh my gosh, you guys are amazing. Fong has donated $1,025 just tonight, and How has donated $1,000 just tonight. The donation leaders are How and Fong. How and Fong. Thank you so much, How and Fong, making it rain for Andrew Yang. Okay, looks like Andrew's about to leave, so let's try to distract him.
Thank you, guys.
So,
Andrew, could we get 2 donations for Hao and Fong, who each donated over $1,000 during this event?
Hao and Fong, thank you so much for your incredible support. Over $1,000 each. Wow! It's like you're right here in Van Meter, Iowa, with the team, making history together. So thank you for the support and confidence. Let's keep growing and then peak at the exact right time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Andrew.
Hao and Fong, I don't know if you're guys. I think you are.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Can we do a question for the Italian news?
Look at that. Look what happens when you make it rain. You make it rain for the campaign. You make it rain. Thank you, Hao and Fong. And there he goes. Now let's see if we can do some interviews. Is anyone here? Let's see if we can do some interviews. Excuse me, ma'am. Question for you.
Sure.
Would you be interested in answering a few questions about what you thought of the event?
All
Okay,
right.
awesome.
My son told me who you are. You do,
Yeah, YouTube.
He watches you.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're on stream right now with 1,200 people.
Oh, really? Hi.
1,200 people who like to watch Andrew shake hands with people.
Oh, okay.
That's how big the support is.
All right. Yes, I can answer.
All right.
You can answer.
What, you guys want to do a group interview together? Is it mother and son or okay, mom and son interview?
Campaign here as well.
What did you say?
My brother works for the campaign.
Oh
here
wow,
as well,
awesome,
so,
sweet.
Came up for the weekend.
Awesome.
To canvas for him.
Wherever you'd like, it doesn't matter. It's about the words that count.
I got one.
All right. So first of all, what are your names?
My name is Janice.
Janice and Eric. Well, nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
My name's Matt. And have either of you heard Andrew speak before?
No, this is the first time in person, but yeah, definitely online.
Yes.
For sure.
And after what do you think the atmosphere is, or the energy in the room, hearing Andrew speak in person versus online?
I think you can actually kind of feel the way that people are laughing about these the jokes that he's making in a way, and he's able to like raise spirits, and he's actually resonating with individuals, which is kind of hard to tell online sometimes because you're not kind of hearing the little whisperings around you and people kind of nodding along and agreeing. And yeah, it's great hearing so many people galvanized behind a single idea.
And from just being around the rest of the crowd for most of the night, did you find that this was like a crowd that was already mostly Andrew Yang supporters, or a lot of like newer people who hadn't heard him speak before?
Well, the people sitting behind us, they had seen Warren earlier, and they knew of him a little bit. They were kind of leaning towards him, but now.
I would guess like 75% or something probably haven't really heard much about him. That's kind of my feeling.
We went canvassing yesterday.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's tough work in the cold.
Well, it was cold.
Yeah, we were skating around on the ice for a little bit.
Canvassing.
Yeah. But a lot of people unfortunately didn't know a lot about him. So
That's why it's up to people like you guys. Keep spreading the message. We got 15 days left after tonight. But of those 75% of people that you think were kind of hadn't really heard much from Yang before, do you think that their opinion improved after listening to him speak? Do you think a lot of people may have moved him up to their first, second, third choice?
Yeah, everyone in the line just standing and waiting to get a photo with him loves the whole entire event and completely changed their mind in a way that was positive.
Yep.
That's awesome. And
Need to hear him.
back to you guys. How did you each first hear of Andrew Yang?
I heard him on Sam Harris's podcast probably 2 years ago now or something like that. Just started researching UBI after that and saw him on more and more conversations and then started pestering everyone I knew.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, that's how and then our son is volunteering, so that's
Awesome.
passionate about.
Yeah.
We live in Kansas, so.
Wow. Are you here for just for like the caucus for
Well,
canvassing?
we came to canvass and then to see our son. But yeah,
Awesome.
Canvass. We wanted to get involved.
That's awesome.
You'll be up next week.
Yeah, I'm gonna drive back up next week and volunteer some more.
For anyone watching who maybe is considering coming to Iowa to canvass for Andrew Yang, what would you say your experience has been so far, or do you think that they would be helpful to come out here and speak with Iowans?
Because, yeah, people need to hear, and even if it's, we knocked on a lot of doors, a lot of people don't answer, but those who do, we talked a little bit with them and told them about events, and they need to, he needs a name recognition. They need to know what he stands for. And coming, especially when they have the opportunity to meet him in person.
Yeah, there's nothing like coming to an event. I talked to this couple earlier today at he had a town hall in Waterloo, and the husband said that he had Andrew 5th on his list, and the wife said 3rd, and they both were number 1. That's all it takes is just get him in the room, because his message truly is so incredible.
He's everywhere, so they have the opportunity to see him. I definitely, and they're not knowing who to vote for yet, or who they'll caucus for. Yes, come to Iowa. Bring a couple layers of clothes, though.
All right. Final question.
Okay.
What would $1,000 a month mean to both of you personally?
I think for me, it would allow for me to just kind of change hobbies into more of kind of my work instead. Because I think a lot of times people make a trade-off between doing things that they like and activities that are hobbies, and then weigh that with jobs that make them money and they can pay their rent. And being able to have a certain amount of alleviation and paying back student loans or paying rent, and being able to kind of seek out a little bit more time to do things that you're passionate about is one of the reasons why. I think mostly it's more about the amount of money that could be given to people who are in poverty right now. It just has to be as that powerful.
Well, plus, also just being able to give to. I know that sounds so, but like when you're leaving a tip at a restaurant, maybe leave a little extra. Tip. Things like that. Plus, it'll help with my healthcare too. But he's going to lower healthcare costs. So that's
just the small little things that make people's lives a little bit happier each day. Yeah, for sure. Well, it was a pleasure to speak with both of you, and thank you for watching the channel.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll watch this one back again and share.
And Andrew was at a little We the People forum thing earlier in Des Moines, and I was supposed to be there to film it, but I showed up at the wrong address. But luckily, I'm uploading it right now on the computer over there, so you can watch that as well.
Okay.
Go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I know.
Andrew
Thank you,
Yang.
Matt. Thank
All right, you guys have a great night.
You too.
What else is going on here? Yang? Gang. This video is 52% uploaded. I'm thinking it might be time to end the stream, but I kind of want to interview more people. I'm in the interview mood, but unfortunately, I think most of the people have left. I'll try to interview her at the end of her interview.
I guess I'm not quite sure how to untitled fire.
And we only have one paper entry, so it's gonna be super easy.
I think they're impressed.
And tonight,
Good to see you again.
So
Those folks are press.
Wait, Henry.
First name, last name, phone number,
Do I know
before
you?
and after live streaming. So
I'm sorry, I'm not listening to you.
To some extent, I think people have to evolve a little bit.
I don't know. I heard the guy in the suit say live stream. I don't know, but he might work for the campaign. I'm not sure. He's speaking with a volunteer. Yang? Gang. Let's see if we had any more donations come in.
People need to see her.
How'd you like it?
Thank you, Tyler, for the $4.60 donation to Andrew Yang. And the Super Bowl matchup is set. The San Francisco 49ers will face the Kansas City Chiefs. Yang? Gang.
So, identity politics is but it's pretty much what that's become.
Okay, we're going to try to get this interview this woman.
Whenever we do these Q&As, we get a lot better responses, a lot better feedback. Because, like, you saw the answer series, like, those were none of these push, straight on answers. Like, that's just how we do it. We obviously would be here doing that, but just some people being that. And those are the rest of the escape guides, and tabs, like, you do tabs, which is like, yeah, and that's how it is. And we're doing this for 17 days straight. And we're thinking about but when we saw the writing on the wall and the conversions, that's representing kid and the first time on the phone. About that on a larger scale, it's just
Oh. Hey, Carrot King, can you time out Leroy for his inappropriate comment? The bidding war at the end of the night was insane. It was insane. Okay, I think it's time to like end the stream. Alright guys, I think this is going to be the end of the stream. So, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow at sometime, I believe around like 12. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed the bidding war. There's a reason we call it theyanggame.com.
How are you, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm excited. That was a pretty good event, I think.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the rest of the night.